Hey guys, Jye Edwards here for my second time around on the Where Do We Begin podcast. I'm an Olympic 1500 metre runner who's just recently returned from Tokyo. I hope you guys enjoy, and as always, a big shout out to Lockie and Harper, who are clearly scraping the bottom of the barrel to get me on again.
Lockie's doing the intro today. He's warned that he might be throwing me under the bus, so we'll see how it goes.
Hello and welcome again to another episode of Where Do We Begin. Our next guest needs no introduction, and he's somebody that we've been lucky enough to have on the show already. Uni student, athlete, model, and now Olympian, Jye Edwards. How are we today, buddy?
Hey mate, boys, good to be on here again.
Oh mate, it's great to have you back. I think last time, it's good to be on at about 9:15 p.m. Last time, I think we wrapped up for recording about 2 a.m. And just for the listeners, bit of a kind of production little secret. I edited out about half my audio because the drivel I was serving up that night was absolutely horrendous. I'm sure you two can attest to that. Hopefully, I put in a bit of a better performance today.
Oh mate, yeah, I don't blame you one bit. I was coming from halfway across the world, and we tried for weeks to tee it up. So you put in a mammoth effort trying to get it on at 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. So, that's the beauty of editing.
Anything for you, Jye. If our listeners are wondering why it was me giving the intro today, it's because Harper said, but pre-episode, now Lockie, I've got a great little first comment. It's really funny, so I want you to do the intro so I can make this comment.
I did,
and that was it.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
I did back up my claim that much, mate. I said I've got a little comment, but I didn't say really, really funny. I'm not claiming to be a stand-up comic here, mate.
All right, well, Harps, now that you've had your fun, now I'm down to the serious questions. And Jye, you took over our Instagram page, which we really appreciated, and you put on there the first thing you're doing out of quarantine was going down to this brewery that you could spot from your hotel. Now, our listeners want to know, did you go? Any recommendations?
Yes, I did go. I went multiple times, actually, about 3 to be exact. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Phenomenal spot just on the water under the bridge. Fallon's Brewing Co. for anyone interested in Brisbane. We got stuck in there a few times, and highly recommend for sure.
I like that, Jye. I did see that you're looking for a sponsor, so just chucking the Fallon's Brewery in there, mate. Maybe that'll be your sponsor for the next Olympics.
That's it. That'd be the dream.
Yeah, and mate, you came straight home after the Olympics. Some of the other runners went to Diamond League, stuff like that, kind of went to Europe. So you came back. Tell us what other antics you got up to out in the town in Queensland.
Yeah, look, I won't go into too much detail for obvious reasons, but I had a good time. We were obviously up in Brisbane for quarantine for 2 weeks, and then from there, seeing as though Canberra and New South Wales as a whole was in lockdown, I just decided to spend 2 weeks up there with freedom, which is exactly what I needed after such a long time away. And just hung around in Brizzy for the week. Obviously, got up to a bit of mischief up there, and then trekked on up to Noosa, which was even nicer. Like I said, just exactly what was needed after a long season, just that mental sort of refresh and unwind. And even by the end of it, I was pretty ready to sort of come home and get back to business down here in Canberra and back to training.
Yeah, and we saw just the other night, I was talking to you about this off air actually, in the Diamond League in Brussels, I think it was, we saw Stuart McSwain and Ollie Hoare come first and second. Unbelievable. But then I forgot that you were back here, and so just tell the listeners, why are you back here, not at the Diamond League at the moment?
Yeah, for me, it was there's a lot of factors going into that, and I was actually originally planned to go on and compete some more, but unfortunately, I just decided to call it a season after the Olympics. It was a long sort of campaign and a long sort of few weeks leading up to the Olympics. Obviously, it wasn't quite the result I had planned for, and didn't quite go the way I would have liked. But it just sort of come down to making a decision, and I just thought it was in my best interest to come back home, and I had a few sort of sore spots and little niggles that I needed to get fixed up. And as easy it would have been to go overseas, there's just a few factors that just made this the better decision, and I'm ready to just get back to training and hopefully build towards a bigger year next year.
Yeah, definitely, Jye. I'm sure that there's a big 2022 season coming up to you, and well, you've been making us jealous that you've been getting sun up in Noosa the last couple of weeks. I think what we're even more jealous about is you went to the Olympics. You're now an Olympian. I mean, mate, just take us through it. How does it feel to have competed in your first Olympic Games?
Yeah, look, it is hard to put into words. Like, more so just for me, the journey that I've been on the last few years. Like, I haven't even run that many races from 2017 up until now, and this year just went so quickly, and it all just happened so fast. It's hard to almost soak it in. And then next thing I know, I'm running domestically, running a few races here and there, and next minute I'm on a plane to Tokyo. And to be honest, I was just so lucky that it was postponed a year. Otherwise, none of this would have happened. I was nowhere near fit enough or in shape last year, and this whole extra 12 months has given me the opportunity to, I guess, give myself that title as an Olympian. And it does feel, pretty surreal. Like, that's obviously what we do the sport for, to try and make the highest level possible, being the Olympics. And to actually be there, more so this young, I didn't really expect it at all. So it's something I'm pretty shocked with.
Oh, mate, it is absolutely awesome. And I think the thing that's particularly surreal, like, not just kind of running your race at the Olympics, but lots of people talk about this, all the famous people you see in the Olympic Village. Did you see anyone particularly notable?
Yeah, I did see a few. Let me try and think here. Obviously, first and foremost, there's so many Aussies that I saw, obviously, through the team camps. A lot of good athletics people that I know. There's a few countless world record holders, even people that did break world records there, such as your Carson Warholms and Sydney McLaughlin, and obviously the 800-metre champion, I think, Mo and all that. And then, as far as the Australians go, just everyone. Like, there was all the tennis greats, Barty, and obviously Mel Wu that you guys have had on the show. She's a phenomenal athlete. Jess Fox. There's just so many people, and it's so surreal because you're walking around and you sort of just see these people on TV or on social media or whatever, and to be walking around constantly running into such famous people, it just almost doesn't feel real. So for that to be a reality was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, mate, that sounds so special. I actually asked that question once for Harps, if he's ever seen anybody notable, and he said, every day he looks in the mirror.
Mate, I said every day I see Lockie Gibbs on the podcast.
That's it. That is it.
Mate, you mentioned Mel Wu there. I was going to ask this a bit later, but you mentioned her there. We were talking about it off air. Vogue photo shoot. I think this might have even been before we recorded the first episode, but we didn't talk about it the first time. I want to talk about it this time. How did this Vogue photo shoot with you and Mel Wu and some other athletes come about?
Oh, I don't have a clue. To be honest, originally I wasn't even included in it to begin with, and then I think basically there was someone dropped out, and I kind of got the call up. That was basically my story. Obviously, the rest of them was all pretty planned. They're 2, 3, 4-time Olympians. So that's all pretty expected. But yeah, for me, that was obviously just the first step. Like, I went to that thing, obviously no modelling experience whatsoever. I got thrown in the deep end a bit. But it was good fun, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was a good day. And as I said, just working alongside or being alongside all these superstars of sport was pretty phenomenal. And basically, long story short, got a bit of a tap on the shoulder from a bloke I know who just said they need someone to fill in, and you get paid for it. I said, no dramas.
Mate, that's awesome. And just for the people watching on the YouTube or anyone that sees us three, I don't think there's much risk guessing who the model is out of us three.
Got to be kidding me. I'd get a Lockie over anyone.
Oh, geez, mate. I don't even think my mum would say that, but I appreciate it, Jye. And and so we'll go back to the Olympics. We'll get this podcast back on track as best we can. So you're seeing cool people in the village, but what was village life like in general? I mean, I'm sure it was a bit different to previous games, but it still would have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, for me, being my first Olympics, I didn't have anything to compare it to. So it was awesome for me. Like, I was just experiencing everything for the first time. You got the dining halls, the way of life, the big high-rise apartments, and the Australian setup was phenomenal. Like it was, I didn't look around too much because we weren't allowed to go into other people's buildings, but I highly doubt any other team their setup would have been as good as ours. The Australian committee did such a good job. There was gyms and ice bars and, physios and a big kitchen pantry area. We had our own barista at the front, just free coffee all the time. It was phenomenal. They did such a good job. And I sort of finished up after that, and I just thought, mate, I got to make more of these things to be looked after that well. Like, it was so good. So, and I was talking to a couple of other blokes that made the team, and it was their third and fourth Olympics, and they just said, yeah, this is quite different. So I'd be pretty interested to see what other Olympics are like in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, mate. That's phenomenal. And so I don't know how long you were actually in the Village Life for, but obviously, what was your preparation like heading into your race and your event? Because you competed in the Diamond Leagues in Europe, so was your body feeling good? What was your confidence like heading into the heat?
Yeah, it was interesting for me. So obviously, with the past few years I haven't had a stack of races. So this was my first sort of proper block of both training and racing, and my first European stint. So I went over at the start of June, had 4 races in total leading up to the end of August. The start of August, so it was about 2 months. And pretty much the first 3 races went really well. The third one being my first Diamond League race in Oslo, and then Monaco was my 4th race and second Diamond League. That wasn't bad. I ran a small PB, but I was pretty disappointed with that. It was just a bit of a missed opportunity, unfortunately. Should have run a fair bit quicker, but that's how it goes. And then, all things were going pretty well up until Tokyo. We had our pre-camp in Narita, which is about an hour out of Tokyo. And training was going well. It was a bit difficult because we're only allowed between the track and the hotel, and that was it. We were under like a bit of a quarantine period for the 5 days we were there. And I don't know what it was, whether it was just the constant running laps of the track or what, but I just had a few sore spots, and I actually twinged my left hamstring a little bit in the lead up. Nothing too bad, but it just faltered that preparation a little bit. And I guess going into the Olympics, you just want everything to be absolutely 100%. So I just sort of work around that a bit. I had a couple of days off, and was lucky to be surrounded by some great physios and whatnot to help fix that. And everything was all pretty good. Like the training went great other than that, and the lead up was 98% good, but unfortunately just wasn't quite what was needed on that world stage.
Yeah, man, and we know a big part of preparation is getting the right kind of sleep. Lockie asked Carly McCulloch, a guest we had a few episodes ago, about the cardboard beds, but turns out she wasn't actually in Tokyo because her event was based elsewhere. But I'm assuming that you slept in the cardboard beds, so what's your review?
Yeah, the cardboard beds, honestly, they weren't too bad. Like they were, obviously it's just the bed frame and you get a pretty decent mattress on top, but I don't know if it was just me or what, but both the beds in the village and the bed I slept on in the pre-camp and the Rita, they were just both like hard as a rock. Like the one especially in our pre-camp, I just slept shocking all the time. The bed was hard, the pillow was hard. I don't know if it's just a Japanese thing where they, just sleep on firm beds. I don't know. I slept terrible. But in saying that, when we went to the pre-camp, I flew from Europe and the jet lag was horrific. Like I was so cooked for about 5 days. And, just going to bed at 9, 10 o'clock and waking up at 3 a.m. first couple of nights and just couldn't get back to sleep. And, it was pretty bad. So that took a while to adjust, but I guess that's what that pre-camp was for. And then, overall, the beds are all right. Like we got used to them. And, I think there was a few broken beds by the end of it. But, overall, it was all right.
All right, well, it's good now. Harper can rest easy knowing that you rested easy over in Japan.
Absolutely.
So,
that's it.
So now I guess back to the event. So, mate, it's really interesting talking about your event pre-game. So, Jye's a 1,500 metre runner, just for our listeners, because we forgot to mention to that earlier, although I'm sure you all already know. But you said how tactical it was. And actually seeing your race, I realised that and I understood it. Like, mate, it's always bullshit how it's like, it costs you being in a slight heat. I hate that.
Yeah, well, that's obviously the I don't know the word, like that's
Luck
just
of
how
the
it
draw.
is. Yeah, it's luck of the draw. It's how 1500 meter racing goes. It's what we train for, and that's how it is. Like, so for those obviously that don't know, there's 3 heats in the 1500, and I was in the second heat, much slower. It was probably 8 seconds slower than the others, just through tactics. People went to the front, slowed it down. Obviously, no one wants to take up the pace because running off the front's harder. And unfortunately, top 6 go through the semis. I got 7th in my heat. And obviously, the slower it is, the more bunched up people are, the more messy it gets. And that was the case in my race where 2 people fell. One was right in front of me, or 2 sort of were. So I was kind of caught up in both of those in a way, but it's just brutal. It's part of the sport, I guess. You got to plan for that and get ready for that as an athlete. But yeah, it's brutal. And unfortunately, the first guy that fell, he kind of just got caught on the inside rail with 300 to go, and he's actually was probably one of the race favourites, or at least sort of a top 5 favourite. And he just tried to go for a gap that wasn't there and tripped over some feet. And he was probably lucky he got put through in the end with a protest. And so did another Spanish guy who got caught up in the second fall. And obviously I put in a protest myself, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, so what's going through your mind when people just start falling like that? Obviously, all your focus has to be on like running the race and trying to finish as well as you can, but then like kind of all that preparation almost flies out the window when people just start falling over each other like that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, like it's hard because you never 100% know what the race is going to do. And we watched the first heat, and it was quite quick for as far as Olympic heats go. And you obviously look at past races, and you have a fair idea of what's going to happen. But yeah, ours was a lot slower than intended, which obviously leads to a lot quicker last half. And then, it does get messy. It was actually a bit wet on the track, which doesn't help. And as I was saying before, with 300 to go, that guy fell right in front of me. I kind of had to sidestep him and sort of jump over him at the same time. It just sort of wrecked that momentum a bit. And then I worked really hard down the back straight to try to get on the back of the pack of 6, because I obviously knew that 6 make it through. And then the Guitarian guy sort of tried to cut in on me, and I just sort of held my ground, and he just fell over really, really easily, actually. And that just sort of hindered it again. Then I had about probably 5-7 meters to try chase down. And obviously, these small areas in races, you might get away with it at a domestic level, but when you're at the Olympics, it's just too far gone. And by the time I was 100 meters to go, I just couldn't catch him, unfortunately. And as I was saying, had I got 7th in any of the other 2 heats, I would have made it through on time. But because I was in the slow one, it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there, and I think what's interesting is like you touched on it before regarding the protest. So the first guy, which I think might have been Marcin Lewandowski, he protested, he gets in. So if you tripped over his legs, then you probably would have gone through. So it's like, how's that fair on you? That it's like if you go down, you would have been more advantaged.
Yeah, and that's what obviously we talked about that a lot, and I think that's, if I had have tripped over him and went down, I think I would have made it through, almost no doubt. But that's I think that is a little bit flawed, that system. And even the second fall, that Guitarian guy fell over, and it sort of halted this Spanish guy's momentum a little bit. If you watch the race, he's slowly going backwards. I think he was gone. But yeah, I think because I didn't trip over, or didn't get stopped enough, it didn't count really. Like they didn't even look into it. So I don't know how the whole thing works. I know that the Australian Athletics Commission, whatever they're called, put in a protest for me, and I tried to get through, but yeah, wasn't to be.
Just looking at the stats now for the people who are interested. So that Qatari guy I was speaking about, Abdirahman Saeed Hassan, he didn't finish. Marcin Lewandowski finished last, 4 minutes 43. And Jesus Gomez, the Spanish guy, finished 11th, 3:47. And you finished less than a second off 6th, 3:42. But question was, how do you go about lodging the protests, I guess? So obviously you talk with the coach and all your kind of your team, and yeah, just what happens, what occurs?
Yeah, so just about what you were saying before. So I'm pretty sure you actually have to finish the race in order for a protest to be possible. So obviously Lewandowski just got up and jogged it in. He's smart, he's experienced, he knows that. The Qatarian guy, if he just walked off the track, if he had to just jog through to the finish 200 meters, he probably would have lodged a protest and been successful. Wow. The Spanish guy, he was, as I said, he was just held up a little bit and he just sort of gave up, I think. That's why he was a bit back. Maybe if I had tripped over more or actually hit the deck or just jogged in, I don't know, maybe I had more of a case. But with that, obviously, it wasn't a huge, I still wanted to try and make that top 6 even with everything that went on. I wasn't too sure. The race just happened so quick and I wasn't even 100% sure what had happened until I watched the replays. My coach just obviously handles all that and he goes to the I think the AOC or the Australian Athletics director and they just do it through them. And I'm not even 100% sure what happened. So I think they just go back, look at the footage and they just make an executive decision on what they think if you were disadvantaged enough.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. I guess the Olympic procedure. Thanks for that, boys. My next one is obviously, so you can see the heats before, and I think, am I correct in saying that the person that won gold in Rio was in your heat, and he was the one that was setting that slow pace? So you know that he likes the slow race. Before it, you see that he's in your heat. Are you a bit crestfallen because you know that it's going to be a slower race and real, or are you feeling like, okay, this suits my running style?
Yeah, it's hard because I saw him in the heat and I thought, okay, he likes to control the race, dictate the pace, make it slow. And I thought that was going to happen. But in saying that, I was kind of ready for it to be maybe a little bit quicker. I knew there was a good Kenyan guy in there and a stack of other good runners. So I was trying to be sort of prepared for all tactics and all ways for the race to play out. But yeah, I just sort of, try to put all that aside and just race what was in front of me. And I did, as an athlete, you just sort of got to back your skills and your tools. And I did think that I was quick enough to if there was a kick down, it was a slow race, so I'd be able to make it through. And I think, maybe if it wasn't so messy in the end, that might have been the case. But it was hard. I was in a pretty good spot early. I was on his shoulder and then just sort of got shuffled back easily. And in 100 meters, you go from a good position to a bad position, then you got to fight your way out and go around. And the amount of energy you waste going out in the lane 3 to go around people and get back to a good position, it really takes its toll. So as I was saying, it's tough and it's brutal, it's tactical, but that's just sort of all part of it.
In a kind of hypothetical world, and let's say this race was a slow race, but let's say it all ran smoothly. What kind of moves would be your go-to? What were you planning to do if it was a slow race to kind of, get into the next round?
It was a slow race?
Yeah, if it was a slow race.
Yeah. So obviously for me, I just try and get in as good a spot as possible. Obviously, try and remain in that top 6 basically at all times. And if you get up, early on, I was probably sitting about 3rd on the shoulder of the guy. Obviously, if it was slow, I wouldn't like to be on the rail. I'd like to be just a touch wide, just so I can get out easily. And from there, I definitely do back my kick if I can, get in the right spot. I think the hardest part is being in that right spot. Obviously, the slower it is, as I was saying, it's more bunched and everyone just starts coming around and, it swamps everyone at the front and you can easily get boxed in from there. So that's probably been my go-to. If it was slow, just try and be in as good a position as possible. Once people try and come around, just hold that position and stay in a good spot, and then with 300 to go, just rip it and hopefully outkick everyone. Yeah,
love it. Coaching masterclass. I'll definitely. I feel like I can go and win a 1500 meter race. So
I don't know about that, mate. Not after watching the heat. It's easier said than done, unfortunately.
No, I love it, mate. And I think this might be a final one on your event, but just so obviously, so you won the Australian qualifier, but we had 2 Australians actually made it to the final in the 1500, and Stewie McSween and Oliver Hoare, if that's how I pronounce it. Yeah. All right, perfect. were you a touch disappointed though that so you beat these guys in the qualifier, and unfortunately though you didn't go as far as them. Obviously you would have been so happy for them as a team, but was there just a little bit touch of disappointment in your head thinking that I know I'm as good as these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. It was all mixed emotions. Like, I was stoked for both of them. I went down to the track for the semis and the finals and was cheering them on, and it was so good to see them go so well. Both of them are just ripper blokes. And that was my thought the whole time. It's just great for Australian athletics in general to have two guys in the final. And it kind of was bittersweet because I feel like I'm definitely have the potential to be there, but obviously you just have to execute on the day, and that's the hardest part. But yeah, that's the way I looked at it. I thought it's great that we had two guys there, and potentially if I could have run well, possibly three, which would have been huge. And obviously, yeah, I did beat Stewie in one race, but obviously coming off the domestic season, it's, he's probably more in shape towards the Olympics. He was sort of just getting to it. I got a bit lucky there, I must admit. I didn't race Ollie at the Australian Champ because he was stuck in the US, so that was a bit unfortunate. It would have been good to have all three of us there, but hopefully next year we can all get there to the Australian Champs and have a good crack.
And I think on the same night, I think it was the final night of actual competition in the Olympics. We had the Boomers win bronze. We had that 1500 metre final with Stuart McSwain and Ollie Hoare, and we had Nicola McDermott winning silver in the high jump. And you were at the athletics track for that, watching on.
Yep.
What was that night like? Watching all that?
Yeah, unbelievable. That was obviously once I finished my race, I pretty much went down to the track every night I could just for the experience, and you try and create a bit of an atmosphere because there's not many people there with the empty stadium, but obviously they let some of the athletes watch, which is great. But that was just like the pinnacle of all the nights I went to. That was the best by far, watching the 1500, not just for the two Aussie guys, but the way it was raced and won by Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the Norwegian guy who's only 20, mind you. It was just an unbelievable race. And then, as you said before, like to top that off, you had Nicola McDermott coming second. We had a whole group of Aussie athletes and staff just behind the high jump match cheering her on, which was awesome. Trying to create a bit of an atmosphere, clapping her in and all that. That stuff, you just love to be a part of it. And, you can't really take being at the Olympics for granted. Like, yes, obviously it would have been great to perform better, but I still knew that I was at the Olympics. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and, I'm going to make the most of that as best I can. And if that means going out and just watching great athletics and getting behind our athletes, that's absolutely what I'll be doing.
Oh, yeah, mate. It was an unbelievable night. Over here, I remember I was switching between Channel 7 and 7 Mate with the Boomers and Nicola McDermott. It was just like amazing watching those two things happening around about the same time. But when you're watching these, obviously, like being on the tour, you're among the best of the best all the time almost. But the Olympics is the absolute pinnacle. So do you take much out of watching races like that Olympic final? Yeah,
absolutely. Like I love the sport in general, and I've watched so much of it over the years. And you see all these guys, their names, who they are, how good they are on TV. You just sort of aspire to be that good and to actually be amongst it. Running alongside a lot of them, and then watching it live, the final, and obviously the final's where I want to be. So to actually see that and witness it and know that, okay, this is the level I've got to be at. It's pretty awesome and pretty surreal. So. For me, that's just a goal of where I want to be, and that was a special night, and I couldn't even imagine the feeling that those guys would have had, and even more so in future. Hopefully, with a crowd, it would be just unbelievable.
Yeah, don't worry, Jye. I think Harper and I are both confident that it'll be you on the track in the finals next time, not in the grandstand. But it's awesome to hear that you had such a great experience. And so obviously you spoke about it a little bit before that you plan to get stuck into some training. And I'm interested, are you going to continue with the 1500 metre event, or is there might you extend the distance, go to an 800 or to a 5K? Because I think Stewie was a longer distance runner than he was 5K before he transitioned to 1500, wasn't he?
Yeah, so the thing with Stewie, he's just so versatile. Like he's this 10K Australian record holder. He hasn't got the 5, but he's probably going to get it, I think, or at least he's got the potential to. And he's got the 1500 Australian record. So he's just so flexible and versatile in what he does. He's so good. So for me now, like normally when I'm in Australia, I have a winter season, which is the cross-country stuff. It's the longer, it's the 8, 10K type work, a bit more mileage, a bit more strength stuff in the gym, that sort of thing. And it just sort of slowly winded down throughout the season. And by the time March, April comes around, which is nationals, you want to be sort of going pretty well there. But then a lot of these guys don't peak till major championships, which are in June, July. So it's pretty hard to get the timing right. So for me now, I'll probably go back to a bit of base stuff. I'll probably do a bit more of aerobic work, that 5, 10K work. I really want to get my 5K strength up. That's something that I've noticed. That's been the beauty of racing these races. I think that's a lot of people that have thrived are really strong over that 5K distance also. They just got that 5K strength. So I think that's something that I need to work on. And having so many injuries, I haven't quite been able to train the way I'd want to. I've had to reduce my mileage and just be really careful with all that. So, it's exciting. I think it's good that I sort of got to that level, having to change my training around with everything. But I think if I can get a good 9-10 months in now with limited injuries or setbacks, I might be pretty ready to go by mid next year.
Okay, so it's a 2024 Olympics. Jye Edwards is competing in the 1500 meter event again. Is that your one for the 2024 Olympics that you're striving for?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the big one. Obviously, we actually got a big year next year in 2022, 2023. They're going to be huge years as well. Next year doubles as the World Championships and the Com Games. But yeah, obviously Paris now is going to be the big one, and I'll be 26. Hopefully just have that bit more resilience in the body and more experience, a lot more experience racing on that world-class stage, which is something I just need more of. The only way you can get that experience is by doing it. So hopefully 2 or 3 more years of that and I'll be ready to go.
Oh, yeah, mate. Talking to Olympians, talking to athletes like yourself about this, like the kind of golden generation of athletics, Australian athletics at the moment is so exciting, even more so, as I said, speaking to an Olympians, athletes like you. But one more before I think we might go to the quiz. I've heard some kind of things go around, especially from first-time Olympians from Tokyo, about a bit of a kind of Tokyo hangover, maybe, I suppose. I saw there was this post on Instagram going around that lots of Olympians were sharing, saying it's okay to feel a bit strange after your first Olympics because you're expecting to be like superstar of the world, but you're walking down the street and no one knows who you are. How have you felt kind of coming back down to normal life, and especially being locked down at the moment?
Yeah, it's quite a big come down. It's just a weird feeling, a weird experience. As I was saying, just like the last few months for me, just leading into the Olympics was crazy and hectic, and something that going from nothing to experiencing all of that on the world stage was big enough. And the Olympics as a whole, the thing I took out of that, I think, was not just the physical and mental toll it takes on you, but the emotional toll. I didn't really think I'd be a guy who that would affect too much. But coming back from the Olympics, I just realised how drained I was, how sort of cooked I was. I think it's just a big lead up, and you just sort of feel that expectation, that whether it's just what you put on yourself or, because effectively the whole world's watching. And it's just it is tough. And I think as well, going from such a high to spending 2 weeks in a hotel room where you literally can't leave the 4 walls or get fresh air. It's just a big change. You almost go from, up here to prison essentially, because it's just so hard, especially for us who we're used to exercising every day. Like, we're able to get an exercise bike, but that's about it. It's a pretty grim existence for a couple of weeks, but it's a weird feeling. And for me now, I just feel pretty normal. I feel like I'm adjusting again. It's definitely a weird feeling. Even just today was the first time I've driven a car in Australia, and I nearly was driving on the wrong side of the road. I just forgotten how to function in civilization. But it's all good. I'm honestly pretty happy to be back and back into a routine, and hopefully start building towards next year. Yeah,
just one last one before we do get to the quiz. At the start of that kind of hangover period, I suppose. Do you get like coaches or Athletics Australia like giving you tips for how to kind of feel like your normal self again, or even athletes who have been to games before talking to you about that kind of thing?
We do have plenty of like resources and people that we can get in contact with for that type of thing. And actually, as I was saying before with the AOC, like their setup was incredible at the Olympics, and even more so, they had like this quarantine thing, they called it. During quarantine, they just had all activities for us every day, whether it just be, a bit of a fitness class, or they had entertainment for us. I think they had a couple of musicians playing and a bingo night and a this and a that and all this other stuff. So, they tried hard to give us something to look forward to each day. And that was phenomenal as well. Like they didn't have to do that. Obviously, we got looked after by a few brands. I had a good mate of mine who got in touch with some brewing companies and got some beers sent over. So that was good. As you probably saw, I got stuck into that. It's all pretty good. Like as I was saying, it's a big change from coming from the Olympics trainer there, but it's definitely well worth the sacrifice. And we do have great support networks and people that we can reach out to if we need help. And they were great with that, which was made our 2 weeks there a lot easier.
That rounds it out very nicely, talking about the beers and the brewery there. Come full circle from the start of the show, but now time, as always, to go to the Where Do We Begin quiz. Lockie's got a quick comment first.
No, I'm actually not ready to go to the quiz halves. I'm a bit flat that taking over the Where Do We Begin Instagram page wasn't put in as one of the quarantine highlights, but look... It's okay. It's okay, Jye.
Yeah.
I know that you thought it, you just didn't say it.
It just goes without saying, I thought. So...
All right, Harper.
People can see that if they want. It's on our story highlights, actually, at wdwbpod on Instagram. Give it a little plug.
Dear God.
There we go.
Right.
You're right, Harps. Now it is time to throw it to the quiz.
All right. Shall I hit the music, Lockie?
Hit the music.
Do it. Main event.
Jeez, I'm absolutely pumped, and I'm also pumped just to be able to host it. So, Jye, today you will be up against Harper, and I'll remind you the rules.
I've got Harper this time, right?
Showdown.
Your name's your buzzer, so just buzz in when you know the answer. In fact, you can buzz in anyway if you don't know the answer and have a guess. I'm pretty flexible.
All right.
That's a tradition, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So, first question. So they're all sort of Olympics or Paralympics based, but the first question relates to the Paralympics. Who was the Australian who won the T54 gold medal in the marathon event at the 2020 Paralympics?
Jye.
Yeah.
Was it Maddie Di Rosario?
That is correct.
Oh, very nice.
I wasn't sure of the class, but I knew that, she got a gold in that.
I was actually praying that somebody knew the answer because I didn't know how to pronounce her name. So thank you for that, Jye. You saved the quiz master. Jye is up 1-0.
Nicely done.
Mate, I hope we're better than you and me were last time, Lockie. We were hopeless. We didn't get one right.
I blame the jet lag from my room into the podcast studio.
Yeah, 100%.
Lockie usually blames how hard the questions are. I think he's been hosting these kind of catch-up quizzes, and he makes them a bit easier, which is very nice on us.
Oh, good.
All right, and the next one is closest to the pin question. So, if I ran a whole race in lane 8, I'd probably clock in at about 30 seconds. I'm pretty quick. How far have I run?
1 lap?
1 lap to 2 decimal places.
Jesus. Want to stable, Harper?
I think the professional athlete can go first.
I don't know, 449.2 meters.
Okay. It is closer to the pin, so I'll wait till Harper's. I might actually write that down so I don't forget. What was the answer?
449.2.
Okay, and Harper.
Okay. I think I've got absolutely no idea. So I'm going to go
ballpark.
449.3.
No, I'm not accepting that. I'm actually not accepting that. I'm sorry, you've done it before. I'm not accepting it. Give a proper answer.
All I'm doing is copying your go-to move. But okay, I'll
put yourself on the line.
How far up or down can I put it? Can I go 449.4? Can I go 450? Can I go 455?
Yeah, you can. As long as it's a genuine answer, the judge will decide.
Okay, I'll go with 4. 460.
460. Geez, that's interesting, Harps. You are incorrect. It is 453.66.
Oh.
You went too high,
With
mate.
455.
But you should have stuck with your original answer, Harper. All right, so it is 0-2 to Jye, and we'll go to the third question now. This one is this is probably my personal favourite question, and we've spoken about beer a bit too much on this podcast. But hey, what's a second longer? Which company was the Tokyo 2020 official beer?
I know this. Wait, I don't even know if I do. I drank plenty of them there. Jye, is it Asahi?
That is correct.
Yeah, had plenty of them, so should know.
Did you try Strong Zero when you were in Japan?
Yeah, I think so. Are they different colour can?
Yeah, they're like the potent, like the lemon flavour. They're like 10%. And
yeah, I think I had one of those. Yeah,
Did you get any of the vending machines out in the streets which have like hot drinks and stuff in them out in Tokyo?
Nah, unfortunately, that's the issue. We weren't allowed out of the village, so
it didn't have that within the village, anything like that?
Nah, they had like vending machines, but just like cold drinks. So bit of a letdown. Yeah,
missing out on the full experience there, mate.
100%.
All right. Anyway, we'll get this podcast back on track with the fourth question. Come on, boys, stick to the quiz, respect the quiz. And the fourth question is: what is the name of the 2020 Olympic mascot?
Jesus Christ!
I wouldn't know.
I think I will know it when I hear it.
You probably won't with my pronunciation. All right, if you both can't get it, it is Miratoa.
Yes, right. I'm just sounding an incorrect thing for both of us here.
Yep.
That was shocking by us. Wouldn't have got it anyway.
I should know, but no.
Well, look, and now it does come to the final question. So I believe Jye's score update is up 3-0 to Harper. But as we know, the Who Am I question's up next. And so...
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. This is Harper's chance.
Bread and butter.
Yep.
All right, so
slide in there.
All right, for the 5-point clue. I was born on the 4th of December, 1990.
And just for the listeners who haven't listened to the show, by the way, I'll take over the quizmaster role just for a sec. I'll say, who am I question? 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point with all different clues leading up to it. I've got to get 4 points, I think, and I've got no idea on this one. So move to the next one.
Go to the next one. All right, so 4-point clue. I've hosted my own radio show on Triple J and have commentated at the Australian Open.
Harper.
Yeah.
Born in 1990, you said?
Yeah.
I will say... I think
don't do it to me.
Well. I'll say Dylan Alcott.
I don't know it.
That is correct.
Oh, what a clutch play.
Oh, yes.
Well done. I had no idea.
How have you pulled that out? How have you done that?
I knew he has hosted a Triple J show, and he's just about the only Triple J host I know. Will Anderson does a bit of Triple J, but it's not going to be Will Anderson. He's got nothing to do with anything. So,
well played.
Dylan Alcott, of course.
well played, Harper. I think I need to look at my quizmaster skills if you can get it off 4 points. I might have made it a bit too easy. So I apologise to you, Jye. I'll let you down as quizmaster to let.
Oh, mate. Nah, don't worry. That was well played by Harper.
Thank you very much, Jye. I got to say, it feels very, very good playing myself the victory music like I did just there. It's a great sense of achievement, great sense of accomplishment for myself.
Much better score than last time with us two. That's for sure.
What was that, about 1-0 or something?
Something like that.
All right. Well, I think that's about all we have time for. Thanks so much for jumping on, Jye. It was a pleasure as always.
No worries, fellas. Thanks heaps for having me again.